Yeah. What is the major difficulty you faced when you go for a live recording sets?
Why live recording is not catching up that much down south? It's because it's to do with lots of discipline. You need a very disciplined set to do proper sing sound, and the artists have to be prepared completely. The planning has to be done in such a way that including the pre-production also. When you are choosing your location, you should choose in such a way that it doesn't have much of external noise, and it is a little bit quieter, and unless that noise is part of the film, it's okay. But even then the dialogues have to be audible. So all these factors together, this thing, and doing sing sound is a big challenge actually, because most of the crew and everybody have to convince that and we will maintain the discipline on the set by keeping silence and making things easier for the crew, and that's a very basic thing. In Kerala right now, lots of films are happening in sing sound because they are trying to bring in a realism. Because what happens in a dub film is you are almost trying to recreate the realism which is there on the location. In a sing sound film, it's almost captured from this thing, and your dialogues are soaked in the ambience of that place, and it sounds real. But in a dubbing film, what you're trying to put the ambience, put all the noises to make it sound real, which is captured real in a sing sound film. So essentially, what happens is why it is not catching up is it is just because of one reason is it needs discipline, planning, and mostly you need a locked script. Most of the time you go to the location and you think, okay, let's take this shot today. No, that's not possible. You plan this thing in advance so that everybody knows that, okay, this is what is going to be taken today and this is how it should be. The lensing will be like this, so we can plan this thing. Otherwise, it is not possible.
Actually, you are talking about.
Yeah.
Over the chopping scene, there was a lullaby was playing there.
Yeah.
So I think it will be easy to mix when a lullaby is going. At the same time, we can easily mix it with the sound effects.
Yeah.
In case if there is no lullaby, the director wants some kind of percussive beats, or in case totally coming to the different scene, some percussive BGM is going on there. At the same time, the SFX playing a main role in the scene. So how challenging it will be for a sound engineer to mix that particular content?
See, I'll tell you one thing. See, most of the time what we are trying to do with sound is we are trying to create a focus. What do you mean by focus? The focus is that, it's a similar way like you have 10 options as carrier, out of which you are choosing one. Why you are choosing that one? Because you love it the most, or you are passionate about it. Even in sound or any profession, even in sound, you have hundreds of layers playing, right? You have this thing playing, you have the room noise, you have the fan running, you have this thing, you have this lady who is preparing the tea on the other room. So all these things are happening. But in between all that, what you are trying to do is what is important at that particular moment in the storytelling. So you are trying to create a focus on that. My focus is on this person, not on the external noise, the traffic and all that is. My focus is that this person has dragged this guy and is almost ready with his machines for chopping. So those sounds are really important. So I'm shifting my focus from this room to another room and trying to focus on those things which is very important or pertinent to the screenplay at that point of time. I can't say that I won't keep anything else, I'll just keep the bathroom shower. Now if you keep the bathroom shower, it's a different meaning. There is nothing wrong with that. Then you are trying to say that Okay, maybe he's giving a bath to the dead body. Okay, which is not the idea of the filmmaker. The filmmaker's idea is to feel the cruelty of this person. So then you are creating a focus of taking those sounds and this thing. But if you, on the top of that, because there is something called frequency spectrum, on the top of that, if you put percussive things, now what happens is those percussions might clash with the drilling sounds over the body, and that's going to create a noise. Now, if the noise is helpful to the narrative, it's fine, you can retain it. But if the noise is just a noise and it's making me feel uneasy without any focus, it's almost like colors, you know. When colors complement with each other, we put blue with orange, it becomes magenta. So it is like that. So you are mixing this with that to create a color which the audience will like it at that point of time. So it is like that. You are creating a focus in such a way that the audience will get hooked. Not that they will throw, oh, something is happening which I don't understand, or this thing is completely out of my head, or this is away from the narrative. Now, if you do something which is completely away from the narrative, it's completely wrong for the film, right? So anything that you do within the confines of the narrative, that a film sound is supposed to be. There are films which is, of course, where the sound has to be really big. Like if you are doing a Jurassic Park or whatever, this thing, the sound has to be really big. It has to come out of the screen. But there are films like where the sound has to be really subtle and has to be inside the storyline, and you don't have to really listen to it. It just is there as a present, and you are just feeling it. So those kind of cases, your approach has to be totally different. So as a storyteller, it has to be different, and your brief to the sound person also has to be different. There you can't say that, no, I want an approach where everything is bold and on the top. Even if the narrative is going slow and just this thing you want it, then the whole purpose is defeated. I think because the storytelling will be going in one platform, one plane, and the whole soundscape will be in another plane. So that there, it's going to mismatch this thing. So, but saying that, there are films where you can really take contradictory approach also. Like for example, this one. I mean, it is okay to have only the chopping sounds, but when you put a lullaby, it becomes something else. So that's the guts of the director in taking this thing, right? Yeah. Thank you.
Sir, will you please explain in detail about 4D sound technology, sir? The one which is used in 2.0.
Yeah. See, 4D is something which has come out recently, which Rasool, I think all these people, they try to come up with a new technology where the speakers will be there on the bottom also. Because earlier it was three-dimensional, now we have floor speakers. So I don't know how far it is successful or how far it is an enriching experience for the audience. But it is a technology they try to devise for 2.0. And maybe something else can happen in the future also. So, no, as I told you, the technology has evolved in such a way that today you have Dolby Atmos, you have overhead speakers, you have speakers which can create very realistic sounds in a way that you are almost part of the space. But it is not that great work never happened in mono times. Lots of great work. If you ask me, 60s and 70s were the best period when lots of great work has happened. And in spite of the limitations of the technology and everything, they had pushed the boundary in such a way that even in the storytelling, even the music, if you see or listen to it, those times, lots of great work has happened. So it is not that this thing. Every technology, if it is used creatively, it becomes a fantastic tool. If it is used badly, then it just becomes noise. Then you are watching a film not sitting inside the theatre. sitting outside the theatre. From there, it becomes like that.
Use any particular software tools for sound engineering?
There are so many tools available for sound. Like there are so many softwares have come with time. There is Logic, there is Nuendo, Pro Tools, and all that. So every every person uses it as per their convenience. Like musicians love to use Logic or Nuendo, and film people try to use Pro Tools. This thing because it is more convenient in terms of putting things together. Because what has happened is there was, for example, this particular clip that you saw, it was done at a time where the mixer would have been very rudimentary. Those won't have automation. Automation is something where if you do something with the fader, move, the machine memorizes. Like suppose I am moving my finger, the music is going this way, it is just memorizing it and it is recreating it faithfully, right? Those were the times it won't be there, so you are trying to mechanically memorize yourself. So everything happens in one pass, right? So if you are moving this thing, it has to, you have to react to the visual instantly, out of intuition. And then you have to move your fingers in such a way that it is done in one pass. If it is wrong, then you go from the beginning and start again. But those times are gone now. You have the machine which plays thousands of tracks together, millions of clips. You have this, that, everything put together, and you are trying to make and you are trying to create a focus out of all these million clips, that this is what to be heard, this is not to be heard, this has to go. So you are just creating a palette of sounds which is connecting to the images.
Film maker, how efficiently he know about the sound? Is there any beginning course you have to go through?
For a filmmaker, that's what I was trying to tell you. The way you do visualization is to start doing oralization, trying to find out, and basically keeping an open ear. Like for example, if I think that my character is staying near a station and those train sounds becomes a part of the film, so I look for a location which has those train things in the background. Not necessarily it has to be there, but you can create your own own tools for storytelling. Like this particular sounds can be, and you can make a list of things. Like these are the things, this is the station, this is the afternoon. In the afternoon when he was going, or he was passing by the market, he listens to this train sound, a local train or something. And the day he was sad, those moments, those train sounds came crashing onto him, which was very heavy. So what was happening is those actual sounds which you were putting earlier, now at that instant, when he is sad or when he is on the verge of committing suicide, for example, that train sound becomes very heavy. It's almost trying to crush him. So there you are taking an approach that every day those train sounds will sounded so sweet. That day it was not that sweet. That day it sounded like a what do you call it? A big monster. Okay. So those approaches you have to take it in the storytelling, and it is all about mostly it's all about hearing also. Of like what is happening, the technology coming in with mobile phones and everything, and our attention span decreasing. Actually, we have become less of listeners. We are listening, but we are not listening. So because our mind is there somewhere, and this thing, and then we are here, but we are not here, like that. So it is all about making a practice for listening, and what I call you have to create a memory. Memory, I call it as auditory memory. It's audio memory. So once you go to a place or a new place, you don't have to just look at the visual, just listen to the space also. The kind of sounds that it produces. Is it interesting, which you never heard? Or is it interesting in the context of the film that you are writing? So those things you can imbibe or put a small note, this thing, along with your visual notes. And that can be incorporated and become part of your film. That way. So it is all about having an open mind to hear lots of things. Once you hear and put it in your memory, like for example, when you are creating something for a film, like suppose a cave sequence. Now you are creating that space for a cave. That not necessarily that I have to go to a cave to find out and I have to tell to the director that please book me something. I should go to a cave, find out what it is, and then come back, then I can reproduce it. It is not possible, right? So what we are trying to do is we are trying to draw from our memory that this is how a cave should sound, or this is how the reflections in a cave will come out. And then we are trying to create all that with our tools. The tools are the technology that we have in hand. So with that we are creating something essentially which will match with that space. So it's necessary to memorize the sounds from your audio bank or from your memory, not necessarily by going to, it can be from other films also. Like other films can have a reference point also, that this is where it was created faithfully. So it can be a reference for you also. So that's how you create it.
What's the major difference between art film and commercial film for sound engineering?
There is no difference. There is only good film, bad film. I don't know the difference between commercial and art. But then, see, the thing that's what I told you. Commercial film follows a kind of meter, and art film follows a meter. Like for example, Chilean's Too Late. So it's a film which is very simple, which doesn't have any fancy shot takings or anything. It's a very simple tale about this couple who are trying to find a house in the city. So then there I can't say that no, we should have some fancy pans or panning around stars, music's going around, traffic's going around, all that. Nothing, because it is supposed to be very subtle and it is very supposed to be inside the film. It's not supposed to be outside the film. And then when you are doing a Vijay film or something like that, which requires some melodrama and some on-the-face sounds, so there you are not holding yourself back, because that's what this thing, that is supposed to be, it's almost like preparing food, you know. When a chef is preparing food, he should be knowing for whom he is preparing the food. Whether it is going to a 5-star hotel or it's going to a common man who is this thing. So accordingly you will put your salt and pepper, right? Or spices. So it is that way. You can't really, in a commercial film which is supposed to be this thing, you can't hold yourself back and saying that, no, this is this thing. So the craft totally is different. So mostly the sound pattern is followed to the graph which is followed by the script. It is not, it's not, but within that, those things also you are trying to find the dynamics, that it's not consistently hitting you. Basically, if the writing is in place, if the writing itself has a graph, the graph means ups and downs, the soundscape also will have the ups and downs accordingly and make the narrative flow smoothly. But if it doesn't have, then it can be irritatingly loud, it can be irritatingly boring also. By making it musically strong, by making it interesting, he will have a solid action sequence which will be on the face, and then it will fall down to nothingness, where two people are talking and they're philosophizing and they're talking about highly intellectual stuff. So that's the way they approach the film, and even Hans Zimmer, his approach to music has been in such a way that it's extremely dynamic. It's not consistently loud or it's not consistently attracting attention. So I think that's a deadly combination of a music director and director being on the same page and approaching a film in a way that will satisfy the audience. Yeah, thank you.
What is the importance of putting music or sound in the titles and in the end titles? When title starts, so is it to pull the audience into theater, and while leaving something music which still keep you along with the movie, something like that? They do with the sound or titles.
Yeah, it depends. You can't really say that what is wrong, what is right. In filmmaking, there is nothing called wrong and right. Every day you are going in and you are doing something and you really don't know whether it is magical medium, because you don't know whether it will work or not. And one fine day it gets released and people connect to it, and then it becomes something else. So it is, I mean, when you're making a film, what you're trying to hold the hand of the audience and pulling him into your story, right? Yeah, it's almost like creating magic, you know. If the magic, and we as the audience, we are giving into that magic, right? If that magic is very superfluous or very this thing, then sometimes we come out, no, he's trying to be very manipulative. Okay, it's not my cup of tea. But then there are other kind of films which is completely manipulative, and you are prepared for it, right? You are going prepared that I am going to have fun. There is nothing serious about it. It's a film about this thing. So when you are doing films like that, it doesn't matter. You put effects, music in the titles or anything, because you want to grab the attention from the first page. From one, it starts unfolding with big bang. Otherwise, there are films which just progresses slowly, which is progressively louder. It just starts with nothingness and then grows on you, then grows on you, and in the end it reaches a crescendo. So it is to do with the film. You can take any kind of approach. It doesn't matter, and any kind of approach can work also.
Film industry is using the latest technology which is being used by Hollywood.
Yeah, see, technology just means, I mean, if you have your thoughts and if you have your intention to do something good, with the period of possible technology also you can do. For example, a country like Iran has produced the best possible films in the last, have been producing for the last so many years. It is because they have censorship, they can't do some kind of things that we can do, because we live in a democratic country. But what they have done is they are using their limitations to such an extent that they are becoming great storytellers. Now, if you have limited that you can touch only 5 subjects, so within that confines, you are trying to create something which will reach the audience. That's why you have a film like Separation or Salesman, which is brilliant, right? So I'm giving an example like that. Even in technology, see, technology is something which, how can you say, like in the remotest part of the country, somebody must be sitting and creating something which is unique. Now it may not be technically very good, but it may be aesthetically and in thought-wise, it must be something else which nobody is thinking. So we can't really say about that. So technology is a tool. Of course, we need technology to put our thoughts. Now I am thinking about something, but how do I do it? I am doing it with technology, right? And then only it's getting created and you are seeing it. And everybody does that. So we have the latest technology, but if you see in that context, we are not that upgraded, but it is just a means. I think if you want to be a storyteller, you can shoot with your camera phone also and become a big storyteller. Yeah.
So similar to in visuals, we say that color theory and color psychology is applicable.
In audio, is there something called sound psychology or sound theory?
Of course, see, it's all to do with mind. If you see, like, what do you say? Like, normally there is low frequency and high frequency. Normally, all the horror movies, if you see, it will have an overdose of low frequencies. Oh, rumble coming in and this thing. Most of the happier films will have high frequency sounds. Basically, I'm saying, on a basic level, high frequency sound. You have a sitar, you have a violin playing, which is happy notes and this thing. It's not that you can't play this thing. So it's similar way. The way you look at the color, even sound, the approach to sound is also in a similar fashion. So that's why you have bright frequencies, you have low frequencies. You see a film like Conjuring or something, it is filled with low frequencies, which will make you this thing, and the speakers are throttling almost. So those things are created for that impact. And human psyche, it's all to do with human psyche impact. So the way we perceive sound, the way you perceive frequencies, the way it impacts us. When, for example, a film like Gravity, when it got released, it was a milestone in terms of how they created that whole soundscape, which was supposed to be space, but and they have to create vacuum also, but at the same time they have to tell a story with sound. So the impact is this thing that, because in space you won't hear the normal frequency reproduction of any sound, right? You won't hear in that way. But they manipulate it in such a way that it is highly impactful. So as you said, it's all to do with mind, definitely. The way the colors mold our mind, even sound frequency. Like, for example, when you change your house, when you go from one place to another, you change your house, this thing. What really this thing, it is not the location. Actually, it is the sounds also which this thing, what you are hearing till that point of time, you are not hearing anymore. So that also is part of the feeling uneasiness. I'm not feeling easy, and it takes some time to settle down. So that gets into science. So the sounds of that place again settles into your mind, and you start this thing. So what is missing? For example, I will give the example of that film. So it's a similar fashion. It works in the human mind also.
Everything it differs with budget.
Sorry?
Everything it differs with budget, your movie budget.
Yeah, see, yeah, it's to do with budget also. When somebody is approaching a film like Bahubali, of course it's got budget to do this thing and this thing. And then you have films which doesn't have any budget at all, which is working with a very least amount of budget for this thing. So there the challenge is that how you can reproduce something, or how you can create something which is interesting within that limited budget. The way some people try to do short films and this thing, even in spite of the limitations, they're trying to request technicians, request everybody, or beg them that, okay, please be part of it, or do something, or contribute something, and it has to do with budget. So, but sometimes the budget constraints also, like for example, films from Northeast or something you would have seen, last 2-3 years, in spite of they have not having any budget, they are doing great work. They are doing great work in terms of, because they are shooting in a camera which is affordable, which is this thing, and majorly focusing on the storytelling. For example, if you want to do a film on Twister or on a bigger canvas or something, of course you can't do. So your limitations can be a boon also, provided you use it properly, right? If you don't use it and you keep on creeping, no, I didn't have a fancy camera, how would I have taken that shot? I didn't have a red epic, how do you think I could have produced that quality? So that's where this thing, you can be a storyteller, this thing with your limitations, and maybe in the future 3 films down the line, you will have the budget to do it properly, this thing. See, there is nothing called properly or something. Every film is a journey, and every film is born with its own destiny. If you, this thing. So, if it is done properly with good intentions, it definitely strikes a chord with the audience and it gets noticed. So there is, so budget is definitely a factor, but it is not the only thing. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, sir.
Yeah.
I have observed in some movies, like in a particular scene, before the cut, they mix the sound of the next scene into that, prior to that. So what's the actual purpose of it, and what's the right time to do that in a particular?
No, sometimes what it is, the next coming scene sound will try to push in little earlier so that the transition is seamless. No, that is a creative decision. Some films, if you see, like for example, you see Godard's Breathless, which is a cult classic of 60s. All those are jump cuts. He's a master of jump cuts. So all those are jump cuts, and jump cuts are not visual cuts alone. It's also sound cuts. So it's like random, abrupt cuts. But that's the way he is using storytelling. So it's not necessary that you need to push the sounds earlier and this thing. If your film demands that, you push it and make it seamless from scene to scene. The idea is that the audience should not feel the jerk, right? You're trying to push the next coming ambience slightly into this scene so that it is flowing properly. So it's a creative tool. It's a creative decision. It is not. There is no hard and fast rule for that.